Hello champions and future champions. Hello Chessmood family. Gabuzyan is here with you and we're beginning our daily lesson. Topic for today is very interesting and important. Before going to explanations, I will offer you to pause the video and think how white can be playing in this position. First of all, let's evaluate this pawn structure. We have a good target on a6 square. Meanwhile, our b3 pawn is also under attack. But we have advantage in the center. Meanwhile, our pawn chain is very solid and safe. Black has a pawn weakness on d6 square. Some of black pieces are stuck to this pawn defense, and this is not allowing them to participate in the game at the other side. This means that we can use our minor pieces while playing on the queen side and trying to attack this weakened pawn on a6. How can we use this? In a perfect way. Here, white is playing genius of endgames Rubenstein, and here he goes knight d2. Idea is exchange the queen, which is at the same time is a great defender of pawn on a6. On top of everything, when we're going knight to d2, we are protecting our pawn on b3. If here black takes queen f1, we take king f1. Now let's pay attention at the big difference of the minor pieces. White knight is protecting this pawn, meanwhile white bishop is restricting rook on b7 to join this pawn protection, controlling b6 and a7 squares. Meanwhile, black knight and bishop are not doing anything, since we have now double attack on a6 pawn, and as well our b3 is protected. On the next move, white is winning the a6 and staying with an extra one. For this reason, after knight d2, in the game, black played queen to b4. Pawn on a6 is clearly hanging now, and we can take it. But now I'm going to ask you to pause the video and think, can you play as endgame genius Rubenstein, or you're going to play differently? Let's pause the video and think about it. If you are taking the pawn on a6, there is nothing wrong about it, though this is not the way white played in the game. After rook a6, rook takes a6, we're pawn up, that's right. But our second rank is bit weakened, and black is still keeping the queen on the board. There are no concrete threats now, but black can try to get some kind of counterplay. For this reason, Rubenstein is deciding after queen b4, first of all to go queen c4, with an idea to exchange the queens, and only later on to grab the pawn on a6 square. Even though there is no much concrete difference, for long-term thinking it's very smart, preventing all kind of opponent's counterplay and only then going for the extra pawn. It has happened queen c4, knight c4, and after rook a b8, white again goes back knight to d2, in the next move taking the pawn. Rook c7, rook takes a6, and white has an extra pawn. If black tries to play something like rook c2, we can always exchange the rook with rook a2 move, controlling the second rank, preventing opponent threats. In this nice way, after knight c8 move in this position, playing knight d2 and exchanging the queens is a very smart idea. Let's now go ahead and see our next position. Here we're seeing a middle game pawn structure with the hanging pawns. Those are the hanging pawns. We have a pressure to the c file, but black is also having a nice queen, strong knight in the center, and protecting well the weaknesses. I offer you to pause the video here and think how you will continue as white. White now is deciding to trade off the queens with queen d4 check. It's getting rid of the defender on b6, as well our queen on d1 was not really active. After queen d4 and pawn takes, white managed to fix this pawn on c6, now we have a pawn on d4, and have a long-term advantage. As well, after rook d6, black is protecting the pawns and now looks like they are safe. I offer you once again to pause the video and try to figure out if white can continue making a pressure in this position. On top of fixing these pawns, white is also having an option to attack the pawn on a5 after the queen is exchanged. When there was a queen on b6, at the same time it was also protecting this weakened pawn. Now b6 square is empty. White plays f3, and after knight f6 and rook c5, already second pawn is under attack. Black is losing a pawn. After a4 move, we need to make a decision whether to take or to go b4. If now we are taking, it's a huge mistake. We are getting doubled pawns on the a file, which can be easily attacked by black through rook a7 move. And because of this annoying counterplay, we are not going for this decision. Instead, after a4, we are keeping our healthy pawn structure, going b4. In some occasions, white goes rook to a5, taking this pawn. In some spots, we are threatening to play b5 and take the pawn on c6. Because of this, white has a great advantage, and as well the beginning queen d4 check in this position. Trading of the queens is a great choice. Another time we are seeing how we're trading queens and trading of opponent's defender. Now let's go ahead and see our last example in this topic. Now we're having a middle game played by ex-world champion the Grandmaster by black color. Now you can pause the video and try to play as a world champion. Let's try to evaluate this position. Though white has a bishop pair, they are not so strong. Type of a position is closed, and our pawn chain is limiting white's dark bishop. Meanwhile, white's pawn chain is limiting the bishop on e2. So we figure out bishops are not working out that great. We have our strong bishop on the long diagonal, and we can try to use this. Also, we have a great square for our knight on e4, but if we now play knight to e4, it's not giving us much. White can be playing here bishop f3, pinning this knight. Our attack on b2 is not working. Knight on b4 is attacking the pawn on a2, but queen is protecting this pawn, and as well attacking the knight on e4. For all of these reasons at the beginning, we start our idea with queen e4 check, trading off the queen, and only then going for a knight e4 move. If white is not taking now and playing bishop to f3, we are winning the pawn on c4, queen takes c4 now. For this reason, after queen e4 check, white has to take, queen e4, knight e4, and now lot of things are hanging. There is no longer a defender on b1, pawn on b2 is under attack, pawn on a2 is under attack. If white plays something like bishop f3, as it happened in the game, knight f2, rook takes c8, rook 8, and after king f2, we are winning the pawn on b2 and having a winning advantage. Extra pawn, weakness on a2 is enough for the black side. Again, with the beginning queen exchange idea with queen e4 check, trading of the defender, black is obtaining a huge advantage. It's a very powerful middle game tool to exchange opponents' strong defenders. Now, let's go ahead to the next position, which will be your homework in this topic. In this middle game structure, very similar to something like King's Indian, it's white to move. We have a nice pressure through the a file. Not going for more explanations, I am going to offer you, share your thoughts and ideas how to play here as white in the comments section below. Gabuzyan was here with you. Thank you for your subscriptions, likes, and sharing this video with your friends. We appreciate it a lot. See you next time during our next daily lessons.